In 2012, a research submersible filming the deep ocean captured something on camera that scientists still cannot fully explain. A creature so bizarre, so fundamentally impossible that it violated nearly every rule we thought we knew about how life works. It didn't have a brain, it didn't have bones, it moved without muscles, and yet, somehow, it was alive, thriving in conditions that should have killed it instantly. When the footage was analyzed, researchers realized they weren't just looking at a weird animal. They were looking at something that shouldn't exist. And it's not alone down there. The deep ocean is filled with creatures that break the rules of biology so severely that scientists have spent decades trying to figure out how they are even possible. Some of these animals survive without oxygen. Others live at temperatures that would literally boil most life forms alive, and a few have abilities that seem more like science fiction than science fact. So what are these creatures that science cannot explain? And why does the deep ocean seem to produce life that operates on completely different rules than everything else on Earth? To understand why scientists are so confused by these creatures, we first have to understand what makes the deep ocean so fundamentally hostile to life. We are not just talking about a darker or colder environment. We are talking about a place where the very laws of chemistry and physics create conditions that should make complex life impossible. At depths below 1,000 meters, the pressure is crushing. We are talking about pressures over 100 times what we experience at the surface. That kind of force doesn't just squeeze things, it fundamentally changes how molecules behave. Proteins that normally hold their shape get compressed into useless blobs. DNA that is supposed to store genetic information gets mangled. Cell membranes that are meant to be flexible become rigid and brittle. In theory, life shouldn't be able to function under these conditions. And yet, it does. The temperature is another massive problem. Most of the deep ocean hovers just above freezing, around 2 to 4 degrees Celsius. At these temperatures, the chemical reactions that power life slow down dramatically. Metabolism grinds to a near halt. Growth becomes painfully slow. Reproduction should be nearly impossible. But the real kicker? There are places in the deep ocean where it gets even more extreme, like hydrothermal vents where water can exceed 400 degrees Celsius, hot enough to melt lead. And even there, life exists. Then there's the complete absence of sunlight. No photosynthesis means no plants. No plants means no food chain as we understand it. The only energy coming into the deep ocean is whatever dead material sinks down from above, what scientists call marine snow. It's like trying to survive on crumbs that fall from a table miles above you. It should be impossible to build a functioning ecosystem on that. But somehow, creatures down there have figured it out. Or have they? Because some of the animals living in the deep ocean don't seem to follow any of the rules we think they should. Enter the vampire squid. And no, I am not making that name up. Its scientific name is Vampiroteuthis infernalis, which literally translates to vampire squid from hell. And honestly, that is pretty accurate. This thing looks like someone tried to design a squid, gave up halfway through, and just threw in some nightmare fuel instead. It has massive blue eyes, the largest eye-to-body ratio of any animal on Earth. Its body is covered in light-producing organs called photophores that can flash on and off, and when it is threatened, it does not swim away. Instead, it turns itself inside out, exposing rows of fleshy spines and basically transforming into a living pincushion of horror. But here is where it gets weird. The vampire squid does not hunt. It does not chase prey. In fact, it barely moves at all. For years, scientists could not figure out what this thing even ate. It has a beak like other squids, but its arms are too weak to catch anything, and its body is too gelatinous to chase down prey. So what was it doing down there? The answer baffled everyone. It turns out the vampire squid eats marine snow. But not just any marine snow. It specifically feeds on the stringy, mucus-covered clumps of dead plankton, feces, and decomposing organic matter that drift down from above. It uses sticky filaments to collect this disgusting slime, then packages it into little balls and slowly eats it. No other cephalopod does this. Squids and octopuses are predators. They hunt. They attack. They do not sit around eating literal garbage. The vampire squid is the only known cephalopod that has completely abandoned predation, and scientists still do not fully understand how or why this evolutionary shift happened. It is like finding a lion that decided to become a scavenger and only ate dirt. It just does not make sense. Even stranger, the vampire squid has the slowest metabolism of any cephalopod. Most squids are active, fast, and energy-hungry. The vampire squid is the exact opposite. It drifts, it waits, it barely moves. Some researchers think it might be able to enter a state of near hibernation for months at a time, but we do not really know because studying these animals is nearly impossible. We have only ever caught a handful of them, and most died before reaching the surface. But if you think the vampire squid is strange, wait until you hear about the creature that has genuinely stumped scientists for over a century. This is the barreleye fish, also known as Macropinna microstoma, and it is one of the most alien-looking animals on the planet. Picture this, a fish with a completely transparent head. You can literally see its brain, its eyes, and all its internal structures through a clear dome of soft tissue. But here is the part that confused scientists for decades. Its eyes are not where you would expect them to be. When researchers first caught barreleye fish in nets, they thought the eyes were on the front of its face, like most fish. But the creatures they caught were always dead or badly damaged, so it was hard to tell exactly what was going on. For years, scientists assumed the barreleye had normal forward-facing eyes, and that the weird green glowing orbs inside its head were some kind of sensory organ. It was not until 2004, when researchers managed to film a living barreleye fish in its natural habitat, that they realized they had been wrong the entire time. Those green orbs were not sensory organs. They were the eyes, and they were pointing straight up. Inside the fish's transparent skull, two massive, tubular eyes were locked in an upward gaze, scanning the water above for the silhouettes of prey. This was revolutionary, because no one had ever seen a fish with eyes like this. Most fish have round eyes that can move and swivel. The barreleye's eyes are fixed tubes that can only look in one direction. So how does it see forward when it needs to eat? Well, that is where it gets even weirder. Scientists eventually discovered that the barreleye can rotate its eyes. When it spots prey above, it tilts its entire body upward and shifts its tubular eyes forward so they are now pointing toward its mouth. It is like if your eyeballs were stuck looking at the ceiling, but you could rotate them down to look at your phone when needed. And the transparent dome is not just for show. It protects the eyes from the stinging tentacles of jellyfish, which the barreleye often steals food from. This fish has evolved an entire hunting strategy around siphonophores, using its bizarre anatomy to exploit a food source most other fish cannot access. And yet, we still do not fully understand how its vision works or how it navigates in complete darkness. It is an evolutionary solution so strange that it feels like something out of science fiction. But at least the barreleye fish still looks somewhat like a fish. The same cannot be said for the next creature, which is so bizarre that when scientists first discovered it, they genuinely thought it might be an alien. This is the sea pig, and yes, that is actually what scientists call it. If you have ever wondered what it would look like if a pig and a cucumber had a baby that then got dropped into the deepest part of the ocean, this is your answer. Sea pigs are technically a type of sea cucumber, but they have evolved to live on the ocean floor in the abyssal zone, over 5,000 meters deep. They have bloated, tube-like bodies supported by weird, leg-like appendages that let them waddle across the seafloor like some kind of deep-sea insect. But here is the thing that scientists cannot fully explain. Sea pigs should not be able to move the way they do. Their legs are not true legs. They are modified tube feet filled with water, and they use hydraulic pressure to walk. The pressure at those depths should make hydraulic movement nearly impossible. The water inside their tube feet should be compressed to the point where it cannot generate enough force to move the animal. And yet, sea pigs walk just fine. Not only that, sea pigs are incredibly efficient at extracting nutrients from the seafloor. They eat sediment, filtering out organic particles and leaving behind cleaned sand. In some areas of the deep ocean, sea pigs are so abundant that they essentially act as vacuum cleaners, processing tons of sediment and playing a massive role in nutrient cycling. But no one really knows how they are so efficient at this. Most animals that feed on sediment are slow, inefficient, and struggle to extract enough energy to survive. Sea pigs seem to have cracked the code, but we do not know how. And if you think that is strange, consider this. Sea pigs seem to move in herds. Yes, herds. In some areas, researchers have found hundreds of sea pigs clustered together, all moving in the same direction as if they are following some kind of chemical trail. But we do not know what they are following or why they gather in such large numbers. Are they migrating? Are they competing for food? Are they breeding? We genuinely do not know. The deep ocean is so vast and so hard to study that even relatively common creatures like sea pigs remain almost complete mysteries. But as strange as the sea pig is, there is one creature that has baffled scientists more than any other deep-sea animal. It is so fundamentally weird, so unlike anything on Earth, that researchers spent years debating whether it was even a real animal or just a colonial organism. This is the siphonophore, and it might be the most alien thing in our ocean. At first glance, a siphonophore looks like a single jellyfish-like creature drifting through the water. But look closer, and you will realize it is not one animal. It is thousands of tiny organisms called zooids, all working together as a single entity. Each zooid has a specialized job. Some handle movement, some handle feeding, some handle reproduction, some handle defense. They are all genetically identical clones, but they have differentiated into completely different body types depending on their role. It is like if your hand, your stomach, and your brain were technically separate organisms, but they all work together to make you function. But here is where it gets truly mind-bending. Scientists cannot agree on whether a siphonophore is a single organism or a colony. If each zooid is technically an individual, then is the siphonophore just a bunch of tiny creatures working together like a beehive? Or is the entire structure a single organism and the zooids are just specialized organs? It is a question that has profound implications for how we define life itself, and we still do not have a clear answer. Some siphonophores are absolutely gigantic. The longest animal ever recorded is a siphonophore discovered off the coast of Australia in 2020, measuring over 46 meters long, longer than a blue whale. And yet, despite its size, it is almost invisible. Its body is nearly transparent, and it drifts through the water in a long spiral, trailing stinging tentacles that can extend up to 30 meters. It does not have a brain. It does not have a centralized nervous system. And yet, it hunts with precision, its tentacles reacting instantly to the touch of prey. How does it coordinate its movements without a brain? We do not know. Even more baffling, some siphonophores produce light, not just any light, but some of the brightest bioluminescence in the ocean. They can create flashing patterns, glowing waves, and pulsing rings of light that ripple across their bodies. Some researchers think this is a defense mechanism to startle predators. Others think it is used to lure prey. But the truth is, we have no idea. We do not even fully understand how their light-producing cells work or how they control the timing of their flashes without a brain. And if you think siphonophores are the strangest creatures in the deep, let me introduce you to something that takes it even further. Deep-sea worms, but not just any worms. These are worms that live in one of the most extreme environments on Earth, hydrothermal vents. Hydrothermal vents are cracks in the ocean floor where superheated water, rich in toxic chemicals, spews out at temperatures exceeding 400 degrees Celsius. The water is so hot, it would instantly kill most organisms. The chemicals are so toxic, they include hydrogen sulfide, which is lethal to almost all life. There is no sunlight, no oxygen, and no food falling from above. It is basically hell. And yet, thriving in this environment are giant tube worms, some reaching over 2 meters long, living in dense clusters around the vents. Here is the part that blows scientists' minds. These worms do not have mouths. They do not have stomachs. They do not have digestive systems at all. So how do they eat? They do not. Instead, they rely on bacteria living inside their bodies. These bacteria take the toxic hydrogen sulfide from the vent water and convert it into energy through a process called chemosynthesis. The worms then absorb nutrients directly from the bacteria. It is a form of symbiosis so extreme that the worm is essentially just a living container for bacteria. But that raises a huge mystery. How did this relationship evolve? At what point did a worm give up its entire digestive system and rely completely on bacteria? And how did the bacteria evolve to live inside the worm's body in the first place? It is a chicken and egg problem that scientists are still trying to solve. Some researchers think the worms and bacteria co-evolved over millions of years, gradually becoming more and more dependent on each other. Others think the bacteria invaded the worms and essentially hijacked their biology. We do not really know. What we do know is that these worms grow faster than almost any other deep-sea creature. In an environment where food is scarce and growth is usually painfully slow, giant tube worms can grow several centimeters per year. Some researchers think they might be among the fastest-growing invertebrates on Earth. But again, we are not sure why. The energy they get from chemosynthesis should not be enough to fuel such rapid growth, but somehow it is. So why can't scientists explain these creatures? It all comes down to one fundamental problem. The deep ocean is the least explored environment on Earth. We have mapped more of the surface of Mars than we have of our own ocean floor. Less than 10% of the deep ocean has been explored with any kind of detail, and the technology required to study these creatures is incredibly limited. Most of what we know comes from brief encounters with submersibles, blurry camera footage, and dead specimens dragged up in nets. When you pull a deep-sea creature to the surface, the pressure change destroys its body. Organs rupture, eyes explode, soft tissue collapses. By the time it reaches a lab, it is often unrecognizable. Even when we manage to capture footage of these animals alive, it is usually just a few seconds before they disappear back into the darkness. We cannot study their behavior, their life cycles, or their interactions with other species, because we simply cannot observe them for long enough. And that is assuming we even find them in the first place. The deep ocean is massive. It covers over 65% of Earth's surface and reaches depths of nearly 11,000 meters. Trying to find a specific creature in that environment is like trying to find a single ant in an entire continent while blindfolded. Most of the creatures we have discovered were found by pure luck, either because they happened to swim past a camera or because they got caught in a research net. The truth is, we are probably only scratching the surface of what is down there. Every year, scientists discover new species of deep-sea creatures, and many of them are just as bizarre and unexplainable as the ones mentioned earlier. Some researchers estimate that there could be over 1 million undiscovered species in the deep ocean, and that is probably a conservative guess. For all we know, the creatures we have found so far are the normal ones, and the really strange stuff is still hiding in the depths, waiting to be discovered. So, what is the strangest creature that could be lurking down there? Honestly, we have no idea. But given what we already found, vampire squid that eat garbage, fish with transparent heads and rotating upward-facing eyes, herds of walking sea pigs, colonies of organisms that might not even qualify as individuals, and worms that do not eat at all, it is safe to say that the deep ocean is full of life that operates on rules we do not yet understand. Maybe that is what makes it so fascinating. The deep ocean is not just a place where life survives, it is a place where life experiments, evolves, and adapts in ways that seem impossible. And as long as it remains unexplored, it will continue to produce creatures that challenge everything we think we know about biology. If you want to see more videos about the weirdest creatures in the ocean, check out the links in the description. Thanks for watching.